as we were discussing in the first part of the show, we had the budget announcement yesterday, largely a rand positive for yesterday at least. What's your outlook moving forward, given the kind of rhetoric out of the finance minister yesterday?
Good morning, Alishia. I would actually disagree with that. I think the budget was actually quite rand negative on a number of fronts. First and foremost, obviously the minister was quite clear in saying that they welcomed the rand depreciation that we've seen over the recent months following the liberalisation of exchange control measures that were introduced at the medium-term budget, and of course also the increased collaborative reserve accumulation from the Treasury and the SARB. So it's clear that the Treasury wants to see a weaker rand, and you can also infer that from the Euro bond proceeds that they expect to accumulate over the coming years. You can, if you extrapolate the figures, we see that the Treasury is pricing in a rand of kind of 860 by 2013. So they are expecting the currency to weaken from current levels. And some of the more macro variables also don't make for particularly good reading if you compare South Africa to other emerging markets. If we look at our growth profile, if we look at our fiscal deficit situation, growth is not particularly inspiring, and there wasn't very much in the way of tax relief for corporate. So, we could start seeing a situation where the portfolio flows continue to leave South Africa because of the equity markets, and then, of course, with that fiscal deficit widening, we are likely to see increased bond issuance, which could scare away some of those foreigners from our bond market. And this is all coming at a time when our current account deficit is expected to widen. So no, I would regard yesterday's budget as a rand negative, and possibly the only reason why the rand strengthened was because people were expecting maybe a bit more exchange control liberalisation from what was announced at the medium-term budget, but medium to longer term, it's a rand negative.
That on the one hand. Of course, on the other hand, we also had, the leaning towards the implementation of capital controls in the near future being put to rest. But having said that, the minister saying that alternative measures that have been adopted in other countries to manage inflows will be keenly watched.
Yeah, I think they're still watching. There hasn't been any introduction of Tobin taxes or anything like that, and I don't think they are going to go down that route simply because they haven't really been effective in countries like Brazil or in the Asian region. What we could see, however, if the rand remains defiantly strong, is we could see the likes of the PIC diversifying some of their assets abroad, and that could be a chunky amount of cash that could leave the shores. Of course, that wouldn't happen overnight. That would be a gradual process. But we've also got to allow for the liberalisation of those investment prudential limits to take effect. They've increased them by about 5% across the board, and if we see the insurers and the local institutional market diversifying, then we could also see upward pressure, in other words, rand weakness.